And they're live, folks.
And they're live. Live from New York. It's Saturday night.
Welcome to Hold That Thought. On this podcast, we investigate those lingering questions stuck in a faraway corner of your mind or currently collecting dust in your notes app.
We're your hosts, Becca Havian
and Taylor Lord. How are you, Becky?
I'm good. How are you, T?
Oops.
Water bottle.
A walla down.
Walla down. Diva down.
Diva down.
Do you know that?
Diva, no.
Oh, this is where... This is where you don't have it.
Oh, yeah.
Diva down is like a thing people say.
Am I the diva or my wall is the diva?
The wall is the diva.
Right. Sorry.
It's okay. Hate to start with a fight.
We're getting into the real shit.
It's so funny because, like, I just was with you for such a long period of time, I feel. Like, not that that's unusual
no, it's like,
for
what
our
do we
lives,
have to talk about?
Yeah. No, but I'm excited to recap the weekend. It's like postmortem's kind of my favorite thing.
It was such a good weekend. Yeah. It was Beck's birthday weekend.
Yes.
We celebrated with some chili,
skiing, games,
chocolate cake,
delicious chocolate cake, homemade, my loved ones.
Probably my favorite part of the whole weekend was that our friend bought Beck some candles for the birthday cake.
Oh my God, I forgot about this.
And the back panel of the packaging said, warning, these candles will reignite once lit.
But when she says back panel, it's like hidden, nowhere on the like big
visible
print,
right.
Nowhere visible.
You had to open up the package to see that warning sign, which actually is a hilarious prank. Yeah. It's like someone purposely wanted to prank everyone,
but they
in
didn't
a small
write it
country
prankfully.
Store. I know it was like they were liably
real pranksters don't do winky faces in their fine print, I guess.
Exactly. They were like, no part of them was wanting to let you know that this was a prank.
And yeah.
So we light the candles. No one's read the fine print in the back of the candle package once we took the candles out, and we light the candles and Beck blows them all out. And then about 2 seconds later, one pops up and then another pops up and then all of them start to relight.
Yeah.
And Becky's like, oh my God, guys, this is crazy.
We can
we're going to input audio.
We'll input audio.
Is this your joke? I didn't know this was going to be a joke, but I guess it is. It's the funniest joke in the whole world. How long has it been?
You got 1,000 wishes.
I'm going to pee. No way.
No, it's smoky, guys. It's smoky.
Oh, it is smoky. It's smoky.
Dad, how do we put him out?
Just with your finger, like this.
No. Amanda.
It's fine.
Maybe in the sink?
Can I?
Yeah.
We're going to put a video. The video will be on our Instagram page.
It was so funny because Becky thought we were pranking her. We didn't know we were pranking her. And it eventually, I want to say it was over a minute of these candles self-reigniting that it was a fire hazard that we had to walk over to the sink and manually put them out.
Yeah, that was a very, very goofy feature of the weekend. We had great skiing weather. No new snow, which was fine, but fun bluebird days.
Yeah, lots of outside time.
Played cards with a new friend.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Rango, if you're listening.
Rango. All in all, you rang in 29 with sun and friendship.
We had some hot tub time. That was also great. Some reggaeton.
Becky sang all of Bad Bunny to us in her dulcet tones.
See.
So, all in all, success.
And now onto our real episode, which is
the second episode in our mini-series, Building a Home in Your Mind. What we're going to be talking about today is the concept of freedom in a box. And how we want to really get into this is talking a little bit about the concept of decision paralysis. Both Beck and I have had real examples of that in our past year and a half.
And have observed a number of other people in our lives experience that.
And have chalked it up a little bit to our period of life, just 20s. But I also think it's just a pretty universal feeling. I think in every stage of your life, we're going to keep coming across moments where we're feeling paralyzed by a decision that we have to make. And so that led us to wanting to kind of dive in deeper to this topic. But before we do, Beck, I'd love you to tell me a little more about what was your decision paralysis experience last year. What was it coming from and what was it about?
Well, it was about this time last year that, I mean, honestly, the paralysis, I was frozen for months. I was frozen for approximately 9 months. Basically, I graduated from grad school in New York, and the vast majority of my friends from all parts of my life, like childhood, high school, college, after college, lived in Brooklyn near me. And so part of me wanted to stay near them, but also, as you know, I was like bizarrely, I think it was the stage of life I was in. I think I was just in a really confusing like stage of identity development, and that touched all parts of my life. But like I was so uncomfortable in New York and couldn't get over it. Like literally could not numb that feeling and like just move on from it. Sorry. Yeah. T just made the face of like a baby bunny whose nose itches. Like,
That's exactly what was happening. It's like, nose is itching.
You can use your finger. I give you permission.
No,
now my nose itches.
Sorry, continue.
That's okay. I then like did a short stint in Massachusetts and then came home because I still didn't know where I wanted to go, but I was like, I'm just going to save money while I am figuring it out. And then in that time, T and Luis moved to the West Coast, to San Francisco, where I'm from, the Bay Area. And as I was mulling over all of this in my parents' home, I would have frequent trips into the city to get, you know, a taste of my generation with these two. And it allowed me to see what life looked like here as a 20-something-year-old, as opposed to like when I was in high school and middle school, whatever. Like I didn't really have an interest in San Francisco then. In fact, as my sister will tell you, I was kind of scared of San Francisco. I think I had kind of a, well, in some ways, a sheltered upbringing. I think I was just scared of what I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't too keen on cities. We have a memory of her driving and like pretending to go onto the on-ramp for San Francisco. And I literally like burst into tears. I was like, no, Megan, please, no. I have to do it further away. That's what Brittany Brodsky does. And I love it.
This is so good.
It's so funny. All this is to say, I started considering SF as a real option and then was like, what do I want to do? Do I want to go back to the East Coast where I have 10 years of history and most of my quote unquote people are still in that place? Or do I want to stay near family and stay near one of my best friends? And a few other people started kind of like trickling out here. And I was like, wow, I don't know. And just mulled over it for months and months and months and
anguished over it.
Anguish is the perfect word. Like it got to, there was a threshold that I reached at which it had been thought about too long, and then it was just mush in my brain, and I couldn't really, I was like deeply disconnected from my intuition. Mm-hmm. People say like, you know, just sit with yourself and see what comes up, and it was like it was white noise. I had no idea what my intuition was telling me. And so eventually, I mean, I'll get to this, but I just made a decision basically.
Yeah, part of it also was, it wasn't New York or San Francisco, it was also East Coast and all that meant.
Yeah.
And all the options within there in San Francisco.
Absolutely.
And how overwhelming that was. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you were paralyzed.
Yeah. I know so many people whose lives would be better tenfold if California were bordering New England.
My life.
Yeah, yours, everyone's. Okay, tell me a bit about your experience with decision paralysis in the past year.
Yeah, so it was around September of last year. I was moving out to the West Coast, and my job...
The bunny came back, just so everyone knows.
Yeah. I really have an itch in my left nostril.
You're not a nose picker like me, I guess.
No, I don't think. I think
you don't have
it's
other
really...
tools.
It feels like it's behind my left eye.
Oh, let me get in there.
And last minute, turns out, very last minute, 3 days before the move, turns out I couldn't actually move with the job. But I suddenly found myself at this new state and across the country from where I'd always lived, with a wide open opportunity and deep uphill battle of finding a new job.
God, I can remember. I remember the FaceTime of you sitting on the floor in your apartment in New York. Like, you were like packing shit, weeping, being like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? This is like karmically insane. How did this become the situation that the rug was
pulled out totally? But that open world, when I got here and had 10 weeks to find a job and knew I didn't want to go back into the sector that I had been in, was terrifying. Yeah. Because it almost felt like I had a blank page in front of me and was now supposed to write my perfect life. And that I'd been given this, you could look at it as a burden or a gift of 10 weeks to try to find a job in a completely new place that I was going to enjoy. And I wasn't trying to go back into the same sector. So it did feel like I had this white page. Like now was the time to explore and figure out exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my career, which is obviously a very privileged place to be in. But I would just spend hours and hours and hours staring at a Google Doc and just freaking out, being like, I can't even understand what I want, let alone figure out how to go about getting it. And ultimately, the way in which I started to do it was thinking about the things that I had experience in, the things that I was interested in, and who I knew. And the job that I am in now came through someone who was working at the company, had just started 2 months previously, was loving it, and said, you should apply. They desperately need someone who has interest in healthcare and science. And I said, okay. And it was one very specific path in a wide open ocean. But I think I would have stayed. I actually could not conceptualize what my perfect job was at that point. Because I don't, A, think it exists, and B, I wasn't in a position to even get like that first step forward. So I was paralyzed until a very clear path came forward of someone saying, I know what you could like. And in some ways, I can berate myself on this, and I think we'll get a little bit more to this next, but I could berate myself on it because it could feel like I was giving up.
Right.
I think this conversation has been, and doing research on decision paralysis has been very therapeutic for me in a lot of ways, because I've realized, no, there's actually maybe would have been no other way for me to go about this. I couldn't have just like whipped my finger around and said, that way I'm going to get a PhD in biology.
While you're already in, I feel like there's almost this, at least I used to feel this way, like when I would be in my current commitment, thinking about what's the next thing going to be, daydreaming a little bit, I would think to myself, I need a blank, like I need time to literally stop so I can figure this out. And I need no other things to think about. I need to focus on this. The only time I'm going to be able to figure out what I want is when I go to a fucking cabin in the woods and sit and think about it and have a dedicated time period. And I think yours is an example of like, that is incredibly challenging to do in that context. When it is just like endless horizon. You're like, hello. And you also had severance. Like, it was kind of the best of all worlds. But when you're in it, that doesn't feel like the case.
Yeah, that's completely right. It felt, the endless horizon is it's like the equivalent of the white blank sheet. When we were talking about this episode, this man, Barry Schwartz, he's a social psychologist and works at Swarthmore College. His name kept popping up. He wrote a book called The Paradox of Choice, Why More is Less in 2004. And that just came out with what?
I'm just like, Barry, you're ahead of your time.
No, I know. They just came out with an updated edition in 2024 because of how much technology and social media has complicated this even more. But the foundation of his research is the paradox that too much choice actually ruins your freedom. And we're taught, and we know that our brains want control over our lives. Like the concept that, you know, and they've done research on this, that humans crave control, and choice is what allows us to exercise control. So we think what is better for our brains is more choice because we'll be able to exercise control. And this starts really, really young in humans. In a study Barry did on 4-month-old, baby was given an action and then a reward and, you know, reacted in a way with the reward after doing the action. And the second phase of the study, the child wasn't given the opportunity to do the action, but was just given the reward. And this is crazy. Getting that reward without having to do the action first elicited a negative response, like crying and fussing. So it was almost like the ability to have choice over how to get the reward was more impactful.
But reward is based on where you place it.
Like, right, exactly.
A reward is something after an action, right?
Yeah, so you could argue instead that actually the ability to make the choice is the reward. That's what's confusing. Not confusing, but just interesting. The act of having control over the situation is what a 4-month-old is valuing more than the ultimate quote-unquote reward, even if all things being equal. And then there's the other element of this paradox. We live in the United States of America. Most Western democratic societies believe and are driven by the concept that freedom is the most important thing that we value.
Cue eagle sound. And
in background,
flag
bald
throwing
eagle.
And flag flowing in the background.
Flag flowing
in the background.
And this drives to the concept that you would think that more choice equals more freedom. That ties to the biological concept of control, right? Yeah. Control, freedom over your life, better quality of life.
Yeah.
That is what we logically might think. But Barry, our guy Barry, argues, and his research shows that too many choices make us really, really, really unhappy. We're not liberated by choice. We're actually confined by it. We're paralyzed by it. When we're talking about not being liberated by choice, I think we're talking about once a certain level of control over one's life has been already established. And we'll get to this with Freedom in a Box. Like, we're not talking about a level of confinement that's been imposed by other people, structures, etc., that is actually impeding your ability to choose life that is happy, healthy, and safe for you.
Right. That's such a good way to say it.
It's not just that we're overwhelmed by the options. We're overwhelmed by the concept that we can choose badly. And B, even once we do choose, we constantly are plagued by the concept that maybe we didn't choose the best thing.
Yes, absolutely.
It's impeding our ability to even act.
Right.
And because we're constantly worrying that we haven't done the best thing or haven't chosen the best thing.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I think you were talking about the babies and what is choice the reward. And it's kind of the concept like the choice is the reward, but as soon as we think we're choosing or trying to get the best of something, that's when it doesn't become the reward.
Right. I kept thinking of it last year as like, and I would talk about this with my parents, and my dad especially would be like, why is this how you're framing it to yourself? Like, free yourself of this confining view.
Right.
I would view it as my last decision about my place. It's like, this will set up my whole life. And I think part of that is because there's so much talk now about the butterfly effect, and we all are pretty conscious of how different decisions have a downstream effect on our lives. And so it was impossible for me to not think of like all the ways that my life would change based on this one decision, and it felt like a big one. And I was like,
wait, that means you literally were thinking of all the permutations, like all of the ways in which each decision would move to more decisions and more choice. So you were thinking of thousands upon thousands of permeations of choice.
And this also is like my special flavor of OCD. Like, I think decision paralysis preys on that form of OCD because I wasn't just looking for the best option. I was looking for the right one. I was looking for the right decision. I thought that there would be this message from on high that would eventually be delivered to me. I had a really hard time discerning between fate and agency and like destiny. Am I the one that chooses, or am I supposed to like wait for this message? This is getting into like spirituality, but like I was like, if I'm on the right path, that will become apparent to me. And then eventually I was just like, nope, I guess I have to take the step and use whatever I want to designate as a sign around me.
Yeah. And what's interesting there is, in a lot of ways, you had too much control over what happened next because there was so much choice, but you were wanting to give up control. Yeah. Because you were paralyzed, you wanted someone else to tell you what to do.
Yes.
Interesting. Why, when you said you weren't just looking for the right choice or best choice, you were looking for the right choice. Does that mean best and right are different in your head?
Yeah. Right to me was like, it's not morality based, but it's like the right choice is the one that I was supposed to make.
Even if it wasn't like the best for you in the long term.
No, like the one that like at the end of my life, I'm like, good thing I made that choice, you know? But you can say that about anything. And I think it's human nature to look back and be like, you make the choice right, is what someone told me. Like, there is no right choice. You make the choice right. I wouldn't feel comfortable sharing this if I hadn't seen someone else actually on social media share this same thought, and so many people resonated with it. There was a time last year where I was like, actually, no, it was when I lived in New York. I literally thought to myself, like, I wish I could like be hospitalized right now so that I could be sent home, and then like I would have the next step would be made up for me.
Okay. So this is actually getting to the box.
I wanted a box bad.
But you wanted a very, very sad box.
I wanted
a coffin. That's so dark.
No, I was thinking that. I wanted a coffin. I wanted a neoprene suit of a box.
Okay, so that leads us to, and I think everyone's probably asking, what the hell is freedom in a box?
Okay, yeah.
What is freedom in a box, Becky? It's not sick. I get it.
Yeah, I just think it's such a specific brain that goes there, but I was very comforted. I can't believe someone posted that online.
They also had a similar thing where they wanted
literally
to be
the exact
sent
same
home.
thing. No, they were like, I want to get hit by a car so my ex texted me. Jesus. But I think I've seen that version, and I've seen a version where they're like, I just like don't I want to like tap out for a sec in my life.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah. It's like wanting to be a kid again.
Yeah.
I think I respond poorly and well to authority figures for that reason, which actually gets into what Freedom in a Box is all about. First, I'll share like the origin of this concept. It was introduced to me when I was working at the boarding school that I worked at after college, and students would arrive from across the country with wildly different school cultures and expectations and family structures and, you know, all sorts of different backgrounds.
You know.
You know. I don't need to tell you. All manner. And part of our job as the faculty was to quickly build trust and deliver clarity and shared ethos, because it was a semester school. So basically we had 4 months with these kids and then they would leave forever, and we get a new batch of kids every semester. And it was 40 high school juniors who would all come together to create this semester experience. And it was important for us to frame the semester well, with clarity and quickly, because we had limited time, as opposed to a conventional boarding school where you have 4 years or so to establish relationships and build trust. And at the end of that experience, you know, like the seniors obviously have different level of buy-in to the culture than you have as a first year. At this specific school, students would surrender their phones.
Wow.
They have really consistent routines. Awesome. I know, it was amazing, especially during COVID. It's like as normal as it could get for them.
Yeah.
And the environment is intentionally really structured. And there was a semester where our dean of academics taught the faculty that students are likely to rail against rules, but they thrive inside clear, predictable boundaries. So the structure he's referring to is what we can think of as the box, and students think that they are going to thrive in the conditions of limitless freedom, sans box, without box, sin box. But in actuality, they thrive inside of the box with clear parameters. He accidentally told the students that phrase during orientation. He mentioned freedom in a box, and they instantly
rebelled.
They were like, they just felt really mistrusted, which was so understandable. It just, I think that revealed how sensitive and paradoxical boundary setting can be as an adult.
In all the same ways that we just described why it's paradoxical. Is that a word? Paradoxical to think that a limited amount of choice is actually more freedom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then as a teaching fellow, I read Relating to Adolescence by Susan Eva Porter. This was such an important text for me as a burgeoning educator, because it was confusing to be a 22-year-old, and I was teaching these 16-year-olds who could see right through me most of the time. And I was like, they're disciplinarian, but also they're confidant, and I wanted to be liked by them, but I also knew that my job was to be able to hold the line. And so it was just, especially in the first semester, it was really confusing to figure out how to navigate the role.
Totally.
But what I learned in this book is that students need adults to be adults, and they need you to be their prefrontal cortex that is discerning between their needs and wants and holding steady. And a lot of the time they communicate their wants as needs. So that's confusing as well. And particularly in this climate, I think I was so committed to making them feel seen and understood and feeling like they had an advocate in the faculty. But I think I would get easily swept up in what the author refers to as the fever of adolescence, which actually destabilizes them. Like when I get too invested and get caught up in that fever, it's confusing to them because I'm no longer the person with more control. So basically what we learned from that book and from was like our role is to create and hold the container, not to join them in the chaos inside of it.
Yeah.
And there's deep psychological relief when someone ends up holding the frame for you. I mean, I think so many of us kind of crave that in our daily lives.
Your introduction to the concept of freedom in a box was with working with adolescents who, you know, don't have developed prefrontal cortexes.
Right.
And yet we were just talking about our decision paralysis, and Schwartz talks about the human plague of decision paralysis with too much choice, that it's not just people that are adolescents and who need boundaries. It's everyone needs this concept of a box. But when you're talking about your role with those students as being the one to hold up that frame, do you think that that's the case for adults too, that someone else needs to hold the frame, or do you think it's possible to make the frame for yourself?
What's your take?
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking back to my decision paralysis most recently in that bigger life question. And I know we all have a lot of that throughout our daily decision making. It really scales up and down, but it was someone else putting a path in front of me that helped create the box. I wasn't able to necessarily, and I guess in some ways I started to be like, no, I can put the box around. I'm not going to go be an astronaut. I don't want to do that. I don't have the skills. And that was a sort of starting to sketch the frame. But what eventually really helped me was someone laying something out. So in that way, I do think perhaps in the biggest questions or the biggest decisions, it's helpful for someone else to kind of reflect. But I think there are probably ways in which every day we are all imposing boxes on ourselves without even knowing it.
Yeah,
but just to help
adulthood.
facilitate ourselves, making decisions and moving through the world.
I think that's why emerging from college is so challenging because, or high school, like,
honestly, going into college, no one's giving you the box.
Yeah, but outside of college, that for me was like hell. Yeah, I was like, hello, I had this scaffolding around me and now there's no scaffolding and now it's all up to me and I can't be the adult. I'm not ready. I think it was last year or something. I was like, just thinking to myself, how is there not a bigger ceremony between parents / caregivers and their children when they flee the nest of being like, so you are now your parent. Like, you are the one who's in charge of your day. You are the one who's tending to your needs. Like, it really does feel ceremonial in a way that I don't think, like, there wasn't enough gravity.
My mom, when my sister and I were both leaving the house, she printed out a paper for us that said, my mommy musts. And it was 20 plus little musts that she, like, change your sheets every 2 weeks, clear your hairbrush of hair. Sorry,
you do not do that. Blythe, she's not on top of it. It's literally sitting next to us, and
that's looking pretty clean.
I feel like I'll make that my chore. Like, every time I come, for you to call this clean is insane. Every time I come over, I'll just empty that out.
Okay,
but I haven't done that in the past because I can't tell if it's like
rude.
No, I'm not worried about that. I can't tell if it like makes you feel cozy to have your hair.
No, it doesn't. And it ended with when in doubt, P&P for when in doubt, Pride and Prejudice.
Adorable.
Honestly, we should do a whole episode where we just talk about that because I think
Pride and Prejudice.
No, Mommy Muzz.
Oh yeah. That's so good.
That was her way of trying to imbue some ceremony into it, and it was really beautiful.
Yeah,
and it's still hung up in my room.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
I just remembered this Rumi quote that I actually have. It's always open in my Safari tab on my phone. As you start to walk on the way appears.
Yeah. But you just have to start walking.
You have to start walking. And I think that's so comforting to me because it feels like it soothes both parts, like both the finding the right path and allowing it to be this thing that is like divinely dictated, I guess. Like it has a mystical quality to it, perhaps because it was Rumi. Who the fuck is Rumi?
Ancient poet, I think.
Oh, back in the Stone Age.
When was Rumi writing?
Rumi, when were you doing your thing?
Oh, mystic poet in,
look at him,
1207.
It's amazing that people were alive.
He was a Sufi mystic poet and founder of the famed Sufi Brotherhood.
Oh, Sufi
is a type of religion.
Okay. So all this is to say that the paradox of freedom in a box is the idea that parameters create freedom. And freedom is truly experienced when there is the presence of a box. So like structure, boundaries, those aren't constraints. They're containers that make authentic expression and exploration possible.
Yeah. And also I kind of feel like the presence of limits probably helps us have fewer regrets looking back. To be like, no, but there were, I made the wrong decision.
Scapegoat.
Yeah.
We can be like, I was working with the confines I was given. So I
made the best decision I could within my confines and continue to move forward in my new confines, which is what when I conceptualize freedom in a box, what I really like about this in terms of thinking about, control or growing your life or, striving, the concept of striving. It's not to say that the box isn't shifting constantly as you grow. It's actually just that it's facilitating the advancement of the next right thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's to the quote that you just said, it is, the box is almost the frame that allows you to take, is like that you push against with your heel to get moving.
Adorable. Yes.
And then it shifts along with you, but it gives you the sense of direction to start to move in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or do you think that the boxes...
No, that image just really, I like started thinking about like, is there an ice skating metaphor here? Like an ice rink versus like like sometimes, I mean, no, drop it.
Drop it, Becky.
Drop it. Wait, what did you just say?
Just that I think it is the thing that you need to get moving. That give you the sense of direction, but it's not to say that the box isn't shifting as you move.
Yes. And like
your box today is not your box in 5 years.
Right.
Obviously.
Totally.
Is that obvious?
No, I think that's a good thing to name. And something I was surprised to learn, especially as a young adult, is that in the case of adolescence, which I just think is a good case study here, they push against limits. That is their job, but subconsciously they want them. And it was really hard for me to believe that that's true, that they like subconsciously feel better in the presence of boundaries and rules. But after reading that book that I mentioned, it just felt so apparent. The way she phrases it all is so helpful. I should have fucking brought that book. I have such good quotes from there. But like it creates emotional safety when there, I mean, physical safety for sure, but emotional safety. And I think that can be transferred onto our examples too. Like we all are looking for this feeling of emotional safety, and it probably feels threatening to have everything up to us. Like imagine a world without laws, a world without, like yesterday I was walking home from your apartment and maybe that's the day before, and I was crossing the crosswalk and I was like, good thing we all have decided that we, collectively agree to these rules. No, that doesn't feel relevant.
No, but I think it is. And I think, I think we certainly could do another episode on this, but there's a reason why probably is an element of why we all ascribe to the social contract.
Yeah. Subscribe. Mm-hmm.
That's what I say. Subscribe to the social contract, because we all subconsciously are craving these boundaries that are keeping us.
Yeah. I'm
sure there's a lot of reasons why we subscribe to the social contract, and I would posit that is one of them.
Yeah. Posit, such a good word.
I made up for ascribe.
Redemption arc. I also want to name for people with ADHD a limited time window. So having a box creates urgency and allows for presence, even though that feels really contradictory. I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I used to think if I'm going to be creative and make videos or write a blog post or something, I needed a whole day open to do it. And in reality, it actually really helps to have confines. Like, okay, I have a meeting at 11 and then I have this lunch thing at 2. Okay, I have 2 hours in there to get stuff done. And that helps me.
Yeah.
And deadlines actually like create a container that activates executive functioning.
Oh, wow.
And allows for that. And like my thesis was written mostly in the 3 days before it was due. And I thought it was great, but like I needed that urgency to function.
Yeah.
A once said to me, busy people get stuff done. This was actually last year when I was feeling so like swimming in, I had a part-time job, but it wasn't filling up my days, obviously. And I was just kind of bemoaning
doing anything
because I couldn't get myself to. Yeah. And she was like, you got to be more busy, girl. Like fill it with something. In prepping for this episode, I came across the metaphor of a jazz musician. They can improvise only because there's a key signature that's agreed upon. There's a time signature. There's a chord progression. And the structure is the invisible scaffolding that makes the freedom possible. So without scaffolding, there's no jazz solo.
Love that. Yeah.
To put a fine point on it, boundaries communicate that you don't have to manage it alone, that there's a structure holding you. And that's the emotional safety we're talking about.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's people putting boundaries on you or putting the frame around you in the case of your semester school and the children. Sometimes it's recognizing that the frame is already there in your life that's already created and you have freedom within that. And then the next right thing could shift your frame, but that it's not as scary and wide as you think it is. Sometimes it's other people in your life as an adult giving you that frame, but I think it's a really helpful thing to have in one's mind's eye.
Yeah.
Because it's so apparent why it's applicable to adolescence. And it's probably something that it's not as, I wouldn't think about it in terms of myself and my day to day or myself making choices.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think I felt upset or sad at myself that I hadn't gone and made this bold choice when I had that white paper moment last year, and recognizing that that's not how my life is going to advance. Is in white paper moments. It's going to advance in doing the next right thing within the frame and then continuing to push the frame forward.
Something I used to say to clients was like, trust your past self, which you don't really think about designating trust to your past self. Sometimes you think about, like, at least for me, I'm like,
oh,
my future self has it figured out, but I'm like, no, your past self was working. I literally would say, especially to some of my like younger female clients, I was like, are you a rational being? Are you a logical being? Do you use reason to make decisions? Has that been the case for a while? That remained the truth back then. That was still the case back then. So trust that your past self was operating under the conditions of logic and reason. And if not, like, everyone makes mistakes, and good thing, a lot of choices in life can be changed. That's another piece of this, is like, you really can reverse a lot more than you think you can in life. Worst case scenario.
Yeah. And it's not even a reversal. It's just a new choice in the new situation.
Yeah. For example, I self-soothed by saying to myself, if I don't like San Francisco, I can always change my mind and I can move.
Totally. Yeah.
And what a gift to feel overwhelmed by choice and to have a level of agency in the decisions you make.
The box can scale up or down, like in any situation, but just the fact that it's there is helpful. Like the freedom can be big within that box. The freedom can be smaller within that box. It's interesting. And in some ways, I kind of feel like you and I felt this in just the concept of starting this podcast, you know, the paralysis of wanting and striving to do something and make it be amazing and the best off the bat, and afraid to start if it weren't going to be. And then instead of making that be what we were striving for, we brought the scale way down.
Yeah.
And said, we're striving just to start.
Right.
You were making your where to live so big that it was the last decision you were ever going to make about where to live.
Yeah.
And that capital B big decision was actually incorrect and not facilitating you making the next decision.
Yeah. Oh, we literally talked about this. Remember, we were walking in Williamsburg, and I had just listened to the 51% rule episode with Mel Robbins. She was like, all you have to have is 51% certainty. You don't need 100. And it's just about nudging yourself in the right direction. Yeah. And you don't need absolute clarity to make a choice. And in fact, you think you're abstaining from, you think by standing at the fork in the road and looking at the different paths and abstaining from choice that you aren't incurring consequences, when in actuality you still are.
The standing still is a choice.
You're standing there.
Move
Yeah.
Totally.
You're sinking into the forest floor. Oh, you went dark with it.
Yeah. I love this.
What are we going to eat for dinner? Chicken or beef? There's no wrong choice. Yes. Thanks, Steve.
Love you.
Love you.
Thank you, PB Fry, for this episode's music. And thank you, Emily Kiernan, for the beautiful cover art. If you like this episode, please like, share, and leave a comment. And we'll see you next week.